Welcome to this week's episode of Lagnia-Pod. I am Rob Holbert, your host, clearly with a diminished voice, but we'll get to that in a minute. We got a special guest this week, Steve Joint, Mr. Mask, as he is known locally. We're going to talk about Mardi Gras. How are you doing today, Steve?
Good. Things are just getting going, so I'm still wide awake and standing up and moving around just fine.
Well, I went ahead and did my Mardi Gras duty and got whatever disgusting, disease that's going around, went ahead and got that out of the way. So, because we have a late Mardi Gras this year. So
I have been known to go to the doctor with bronchitis and that kind of thing right at the beginning. And he'll go, "You can't be sick.
Right.
We've got to do something about this." And I'm like, "Yeah, tell me about it."
This is it. Yeah. I'm sipping hot tea right now, but, so you are the founder, the brains behind the Mobile Mask magazine.
Brains is a term you should use loosely.
Well, we throw around as much as we can here. Give everybody let's do a rundown. I mean, of basics. Give me a 101 on your life and how you got to this point with this. I know you were a newspaper man for a while.
I was born a
poor child.
Newspapers have been my thing for, since high school at least. I worked as a copy boy when I was in high school, and go Google copy boy to figure out what
smitten by the to be an ink stained wretch at an early age. Then
I had ink in the veins, as they say. I was all about print. I went to the University of Virginia. I probably worked more on the college daily than my classes.
Yeah, right.
Because I considered that my real reason for being there. I went to Columbia and got my master's in journalism. Then I went to Birmingham. I was a reporter at the Post-Herald, and then I decided to come to Mobile and be an assistant city editor at the newspaper here.
Yeah.
So that brings you to Mobile. Down to here in 2000. I was, somewhat familiar with Mardi Gras at the time. We had done some New Orleans Mardi Gras and that kind of thing. And I was aware of Mardi Gras in Mobile. And when I got to the register, the other editors looked at me and said, "Okay, you're the Mardi Gras guy."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I said, "Okay, why?" And they said, "Because we're tired of doing it and we're all out of ideas." So I said, "Okay."
This was in the heyday of the Masked Observer, even, right?
Right.
Back then.
And the Masked Observer, we can tell you can now know, was the Metro editor.
Yes.
And he would literally leave the paper for all of Mardi Gras. And so we assistant city editors were running the whole show without him. And he's sending in, the columns from home, and we would edit them and give him a hard time when he got something incorrect or whatever.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of it. We referred to it as MOing.
Yes.
He was MOing,
right.
Masked Observer MO.
Right.
But so I had to teach myself about Mardi Gras from the ground up.
Right.
And I made a very wise decision to meet a guy named Chuck Torrey, who works in the deepest, darkest crevices of the History Museum.
Okay.
And Chuck has shelves and shelves and shelves of clippings and stories and whatnot, and he can pull you out a binder of stuff about any subject you want. And that's how I got started. And the more I learned about Mardi Gras, the more I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
And I tell people I'd never actually stop learning. I still find out stuff now that I didn't know.
It's a living, breathing thing still, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
With an incredible long history.
So you're at the newspaper, and how do you get to the magazine?
In New Orleans, there's a publication that's been going on for 40 plus years now called the Arthur Hardy Mardi Gras Guide.
Okay.
I didn't pronounce that very well. Arthur Hardy Mardi Gras Guide.
I'm familiar with it.
Many people here are familiar with it, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah.
And I was definitely familiar with it before I even got here. And I just kept looking at that and saying, why don't we have something like that here in Mobile? Something, a nice, glossy color, full color, compendium of all the stuff you need to know about Mardi Gras. And my wife got to the point where she said, either stop talking about it or do it.
Yeah.
And so I took what turned out to be the last buyout that the register offered and to do Mobile Mask. I didn't tell anybody at the time what I was going to be doing.
Yeah.
I just said bye.
Yeah.
And then about 6 months later, they announced all their changes that would be coming. And I kind of went, whoa, I turned out to be the guy with good timing for a change.
Yeah.
Has not exactly been my life story, but that time, that was a good choice, because I surely would have been one of those laid off, because they laid off practically all their editors.
Yeah.
But I was already well underway with Mobile Mask by the time that happened.
And what year was that?
I left the register in late 2011.
Okay.
It was, in fact, I was on short-term disability. I had surgery. And the day I came back from surgery was the last day you could put in for the buyout, which I did.
Yeah. So you caught the train as it was leaving the station, basically.
Right. And I was told, okay, we'll pack your bags. There was not I was like, I'll go to the end of the year. No, that's okay. Bye.
Yeah.
So that was it. And I put the website up, the Mobile Mask website, for Mardi Gras 2012. And went out and hit all the parades and took as many pictures and video and whatnot as I could, and kind of established what the website was going to be.
Yeah.
But as soon as Mardi Gras 2012 was over, I hit the ground running, starting the magazine for Mardi Gras 2013.
Yeah. And how was the reception?
It was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Considering I had, imagine I'm going in. Now, you actually probably, I'm telling you, imagine you've gone this same road.
Sure. Yes.
So you know what it's like.
Right.
To walk into somebody's office or place of business and say, I can't show you anything.
Right.
I have nothing to show you right now, but believe me, it's going to be awesome and you're going to want to be part of it.
That's right.
And I told
it's an interesting program to do that.
I told those first advertisers, I said, look, once you're in the magazine, I consider you a charter advertiser, and you will never, ever again pay retail for an ad as long as I'm running the mask. And I lived up to that. I still have charter advertisers who don't pay what new clients do pay.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, it's an amazing type of thing to try to do, especially at a time when everything else is falling apart and you're saying, I'm going to start a magazine. I'm going to start a newspaper. And
it's not as bad as saying, I want to open a video cassette rental store.
It's not quite that bad.
It's not quite that bad, but saying, I want to start a new print product is akin to crazy.
Yeah, you can't go there and try to sell that to like a psychiatrist, because they'll put you on the couch. Yeah, it's like
and I did not. I really went straight to the, I don't want to say mom and pop businesses, but the local businesses. Yeah. There was one business I had an opportunity to approach that was more than just local. But for the most part, I was going to local businesses because I knew, number one, they need an outlet.
Right.
You know that.
Right.
And they believe in Mardi Gras. I mean,
they know what Mardi Gras means to them.
Right. And part of the difficulty of dealing with like an advertising guy out of Tennessee is explaining just how important Mardi Gras is.
Right.
It's a difficult task.
Right. It's a big economic driver around here for a lot of businesses.
Right.
And, so that's an important thing. So you got going. What was your first cover?
First cover was done by Devlin Wilson.
Right.
And the approach that I took was I wanted not just a local artist, but a local artist who had involvement in Mardi Gras.
Right.
Devlin worked at that time off and on for Ron Barrett, doing a lot of stage stuff. Ron just loved Devlin and his work.
Devlin's
but
fantastic.
Devlin was also a fine artist and still is.
Yeah.
He's doing puzzles now, which is awesome.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've never known a puzzle guy before, but Devlin's a puzzle guy now. I said, Devlin, I don't have any money, but I'd like you to do the cover.
Yeah.
I would like it to be Mardi Gras. It doesn't have to be specifically Mobile Mardi Gras, but it should definitely not be specifically New Orleans Mardi Gras.
Right. Yeah.
And I want at least one mask on the cover. Yeah. That was my Playboy bunny.
Right.
Was having at least one mask on every cover.
Right.
And so he did a painting. And I told him, I said, look, I got nothing to pay you, but I will do a story about you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got some kind of outlet for, where people can buy your stuff or whatever, I'll put that on there as well. So that was the deal I made with every cover artist down the line. And I told him, you retain the copyright to your work. I simply have the copyright to the cover, which is the words plus your work. Or at least that's how I phrased it.
Yeah, that's kind of how we've worked it.
Whether that has legal gravitas or not, I have no idea.
It sounds good.
But that's basically how I phrase it. And I said, you're free to do, you want to make prints, you want to make t-shirts, whatever. Go ahead, be with God. And it was a beautiful cover.
So how was that reaction to the first issue? I mean, I remember when we got the first issue of Lagnia-Pod delivered, and I just looked at it and thought, this is way more papers than I ever imagined 5,000 papers would be. It just seemed like a task of like, how are we getting this anywhere? We had not planned that.
You may not remember this. You actually said something akin to that to my face.
Yeah.
Because I handed you one and you started looking through it and you said, Steve, this is way more than I expected from a first issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I wanted people to say. I wanted people to say, oh, this is Mobile.
Yeah. Yeah. It always came out of the box.
Mobile.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice for Mobile.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That's what I wanted folks to say. And we did the first one saddle stitched.
Yeah.
Which is the term for putting staples in the binding. And we did the second one saddle stitch. But by the third one, I said, no. We're going to perfect binding. Where it's got that nice, kind of almost like a book bind back. Because I really wanted people to save them. I wanted people to be proud of them. I wanted it to make people proud of Mardi Gras and proud of their city.
Well, it certainly has been a beautiful magazine. You've done, I mean, you've made an amazing run with this thing. And so you out there every year that you've become one of the faces of Mardi Gras in Mobile. Everybody sees you out there. You got your license plate with Mr. Mask on it. It's the whole 9 yards.
That was a fairly late edition, and it's because I know the artist who created that particular plate, the arts plate. And I said, what the heck? I'll go ahead and get a Mr. And I tried to talk my wife into getting a Mrs. Mask plate. She wouldn't have
none of
part
it.
of that. No. But that's
it's a good idea. I like it.
Well, and I've kind of forced Mrs. Mask onto her, and I've
noticed that.
Believe me, everywhere she goes, Mrs. Mask. She's like, oh gosh.
There's a tendency in the back of my head to call you Steve Mask all the time. I mean, it wants to come out. I don't know why.
Like Tim Apple.
Yes, it's just like that. I don't know why.
I do get called Mr. Mask out on the parade route, and that's fine. That's cool. It's better than being called nothing. Those first couple of years. It was such an interesting thing to me. Those first couple of years, I would go out and I'd be taking pictures and whatnot, and I would ask somebody, "Can I take a picture?" Sure. Who are you with? And I would say Mobile Mask, and they would say, "Oh, I love those columns about the balls. They're so funny."
Yeah, the Masked Observer.
I'm like, no, that's the Masked Observer.
Yeah.
and he's with the newspaper. This is different. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But by year 4, maybe, oh, you're with Mobile Mask.
Yeah.
I love Mobile Mask. I read Mobile Mask. I read the Facebook page, and so it was fun and interesting to see it catch on.
Yeah.
And then I started. I hit that point where I'd get a call from a TV station that would want to quote me on some story.
Right.
And I'm like, I did not expect this.
Yeah.
This was not part of
you've become an expert.
My dreamscape vision board thing was to actually become a source.
Mm-hmm.
But it made sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about something that really doesn't have many sources to go to because it's, secret. They don't want to talk to the media.
Right.
So who else are they going to go to?
Yeah.
I do understand that. And once I proved a couple of times that I could be trusted, that I knew what I was talking about, that my information was correct, and it got to the point where they weren't even calling me. They were just quoting stuff that I was posting.
Yeah. Well,
because they trusted it.
That's good. That's good, man. It's been quite a ride. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and keep talking about it in just a second.
Go get some King Game.
Down in our Alabama town, Lagnia-Pod is on the beat. For just $6.50, it's all the news, keeping local folks in the loop. Oh, Lagnia-Pod every single morning, catching up on stories while the coffee's pouring. The local truths on every page, news for the folks of every age.
It's just $6.50 a month for Mobile's daily news, Lagnia-Pod Daily. Get signed up now at lagniapmobile.com and help keep Mobile funky.
Whoa, down in our Alabama town, Lagnia-Pod is on the beat. For just $6.50, it's all the news, keeping local folks in the loop. Oh, Lagnia-Pod every single morning, catching up on stories while the coffee's pouring. The local truths on every page, news for the folks of every age.
And we are back. So, tell me a little bit about during the process of making Mobile Mask what it is now. What were some surprises for you along the way? Were there some surprises?
It's
pleasant or otherwise.
It's funny. When I worked in Birmingham as a reporter, for most of the time there, I covered crime.
Right.
And I was that reporter who got to know the police officer.
Right.
And had a good working relationship with a lot of police officers. Yeah. And that's a tough nut to crack. You really have to just kind of be there and prove yourself over and over again. And I found that that was a lot the same way with the folks in the Mystic Societies. Mm-hmm. They've been burned a few times if they've been around long enough. That at least when they first meet you, they're giving you that sideways look.
Yeah.
And they're wondering, how you're going to complicate their lives, things like that, And so I had to, over the years, I went out of my way to prove to them that I could be helpful too, that I could put them in touch with somebody they needed to get in touch with or something like that.
Yeah. That there was value.
And I had to keep their secrets.
Mm-hmm.
If one president called me and said, hey, I need to reach the so-and-sos, I would say, I will get in touch with them and they will see if they will get back to you. I was not going to give him or her the contact information for the so-and-sos because I wanted him to know.
Right.
Or her to know give his stuff that I don't give this stuff out.
Right.
So that's a big part really of the job is getting to know all of those folks, because the thing that about Mardi Gras, particularly in Mobile, is that Mardi Gras doesn't happen because of the city government. It happens with the help of the city government, but not because of the city government. It happens because of these organizations of just people that in any other city, these organizations would have pooped out a long time ago. These things have been going on for decades and decades and decades, some of them. The Crew of Columbus just passed their 100th anniversary. KOR just passed their 150th.
Right.
They've figured out the secret sauce of how to keep it going, of how to keep people excited, of keeping people involved. I mean, what they do is not easy to do. And we all come out in the street and judge it every year.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And I tell people, I have the best followers on Facebook. I have no trolls.
That's nice.
They are all very positive folks. They are just there because they want to enhance their fun.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm there for, is to enhance their fun. But every once in a while, I'll post about a parade that just happened, and somebody will go, "Oh, they didn't throw very well." I mean, and I say, look, the day that you reach into your pocket, pull out your money and throw it to strangers in the street is the day I will let you criticize them for that.
Right. Yeah.
Otherwise, if you didn't like it, go home and be quiet.
There's of course, in today's society, in this world, there's a desire to criticize every single thing there is. It's puppies can get criticism, but I'm
Those
in that
puppies.
They are trouble. But I mean, I've always had sort of the same opinion you have about it. Is that I'm not a joiner. I'm not an organization joiner. It's just not my thing. I don't love doing that kind of stuff, but I love going out and watching Mardi Gras. And I always think, these people are doing this. Sure, they're doing it for their own enjoyment,
right?
But they're doing it for everybody else's enjoyment as well. And there's always a lot of criticism. I mean, it sneaks around, especially being the newspaper. You hear, there's nefarious things happening, or this is bad, or it's the moneyed elite who are casting baubles upon the rest of us, and that attitude. But I mean, I think it's a lot of fun. You get people in the street who probably don't talk to each other the rest of the year a lot of times, and I think that's a great thing. And I look forward to it every year. I love it.
There are a number of things that were very eye-opening for me, and things that I have really taken to heart. One of them is, people who love to fish.
Right. Sure.
People who love to play music. I know people who love to parade.
Yeah.
That is their thing.
Sure.
And if you say, and I know people that are in 3 organizations or 4, or they love balls. They love the balls more than the parades.
Yeah.
They've got both. They are bi-carnival, there's both kinds. But it really is their shtick, and they will do it, and they will tell you, I'm going to do this until the day they have to hold me up.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm going to bring a chair onto the float, right? Because this is their thing. They love doing it. And it's not just them. It's their whole family.
Right.
The whole family gets involved, and the whole family comes to see them off, and the whole family stands in the same place every year, and they go crazy when mom or dad comes by, and they're pelted with stuff, and it's just the greatest thing in the world. And there are grown-ups who have kids who remember being kids when their daddy or mom was in an organization, and how much that meant to them, and that's why they got in the organization, and so on. I mean, these things are more than being a member of the Elks or something.
It is. There's some real magic to it. I lived in Oakley for a while, and I'm pretty sure I saw you over there sometimes at the Crew of the Mystic Fish, Marion Hartley's group, and it was a family deal, on Joe Cain Day. They got out there and they had a little party out in front of their house, and they had Excelsior band come out, and one of the sons, who's an artist, would make a paper mache creature, a sea creature that he put on a bicycle. And it was always pretty amazing that he was able to do that.
And every year I wanted to do a story, and he would always say, I'm not so sure we're going to do it next year. Okay, fine.
And then Marion would always read. He would do this proclamation and this reading, and it was right down the street from me. And it really, my kids grew up seeing it, and it was it enhanced my Mardi Gras experience probably as much as anything.
Mardi Gras is what you make it.
Yeah.
Nobody can do it all.
Right.
So either you go to, 3 specific parades every year, or you always have a party at your house on such and such night, or it's so individual because there's so much going on that you literally cannot do it all. I've tried. It is what you make it. And sometimes people say, oh, well, I don't have to do somebody else's Mardi Gras. I can do my Mardi Gras.
That's right.
So let's us start. And there's a million jillion little unofficial type groups and things you've never heard of. I did a story for the magazine several years back about MOOPs.
Yeah.
The Mystic Order of Porch Sitters. And they're located on, I forget the name of the street. It's right where the MOT house is, the Kennedy Cox house.
Yeah.
And right down that street, it's just a neighborhood thing.
The MOOPs, huh?
They call themselves the Mystic Order of Porch Sitters, or MOOPs. They have a queen. And now, because they're right behind the Kennedy Cox house, the MOT queen, after she arrives at the Kennedy Cox house, she goes through the house, comes out the back, and calls upon the MOOPs
The MOOP queen. Okay.
And they toast each other, and a proclamation is read, and la, 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 la. Nobody sees that. Nobody knows about that, but there it is. It's their little corner of Mardi Gras.
I know this probably to people who live in the rest of the world may seem silly in some ways, but to me, it seems like if you don't have this, something's wrong with your town, right?
Well, plenty of other places have tried it.
Right.
And it doesn't seem to take. Number one, because most places are just too darn cold.
Yeah.
They just are.
Right.
People would go out for a few years
and
at actual Mardi Gras and go, why are we out here? It is so cold.
Yeah.
So it dies. It dies pretty quickly. Even Birmingham, is just as far north as Birmingham, tried it, and it just died because they were all like, this either has to be indoors or we're just going to do something later in the year. And there's no tradition of it. If you don't know why you're doing it, if you don't have a tradition of doing it, if your parents didn't do it and your grandparents didn't do it, then there's not much incentive, I guess, to really embrace it. But here it's in the DNA.
Right.
I feel very lucky that I've been able to kind of inject myself into this tremendous Mobile tradition. And I find that because I went to the trouble of learning so much about it and sharing my knowledge, that I've really been accepted into a lot of circles. I've seen some really cool stuff. I've gotten to know some great people. I know many of the people who make Mardi Gras go.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was asked in another interview, well, did it kind of mess up Mardi Gras for you when you turned it into your vocation? That's a valid question.
Sure.
And I was like, no, it opened so many different doors and windows and cellar doors that I otherwise would not have had access to, that it's enhanced my enjoyment of Mardi Gras, enhanced my knowledge of Mardi Gras. I mean, one of the coolest things I ever saw, I went to the that hotel down there, the
Malaga.
Yeah. I went to the Malaga. The MOT queen was being toasted by the marshals, and they always bring a band in there, and it's all in that courtyard, that big multi-story courtyard.
Yes.
Well, that year they had the Tulane University band, and they brought them all in there. And there were so many of them that they got on level after level.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Level,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they started playing. And they started playing Billie Eilish, Bad Boy. And that old building started swaying back and forth.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
You could feel the building move. But just hearing that and seeing all the people in the courtyard just dancing their little brains out to the two-lane marching band crammed into this ancient old hotel. It was just amazing. But I would not have seen that as just a normal average person.
Right. It's there's still things. I mean, there's still a lot of things after being here for a long time now and doing this that I still see new things at Mardi Gras all the time. And I'm just always like, wow, God, that's been going on all this time and I missed it. I didn't know we did this, it's pretty cool.
There's so much.
So speaking of things changing and different things, we're sort of at a crossroads now, or not a crossroads per se, but just a different time with the Civic Center being collapsed and people are doing some different things. How do you perceive that going this year?
There was a lot of hair on fire activity going on throughout the year, or especially early on, just because it was kind of a perfect storm of change.
Mm-hmm.
They changed management companies.
Right. Yeah.
At the same time, they said, we're going to tear this building down a year earlier than we promised you that we would.
Yeah. Right.
And, oh, by the way, we're getting a new police chief.
There's a lot.
And the permit process is going to move from the police department to the Parks and Rec department, or the events department.
Yeah.
So there was a point where people were going, who knows what's going on? I can't figure out who knows what's going on.
Yeah.
It worked itself out. Everybody seems to have found an answer. There are 17 Civic Center refugees. These are the organizations that had their 2024 ball in the arena or expo hall.
Yeah.
And so they had to find a new place. Most of them went to the convention center and have simply been dealing with changes at the convention center because, did I mention new management?
Right.
But there were a few who couldn't get the convention center because the convention center was already booked on their night.
Yeah.
By organizations, for example, MOTs couldn't have it on their night because the MCA is taking up practically the whole building with the coronation and the King's Supper and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it was not available to them. MAMGA's Grand Marshal Ball is in the convention center on Crew of Columbus parade night. So the crew decided to have their ball early at the fairgrounds because they couldn't do it at the fairgrounds on their night. It's just too hard to get from here to there.
Yeah.
You'd lose too much time between parade and ball.
Tough.
The MOTs, bless their hearts, they hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed, and now they're having a Queen's reception at the Kennedy Cox House. That's the extent of what they're doing this year. They might be able to do something more extensive next year. I think there's going to be there was a situation where they had their eyes on a facility that wasn't yet available.
Yeah.
And as it turned out, it wouldn't be available, but it will be available next year.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. But the crew says they're going to stay at the grounds until the new hall is built.
Is ready.
And I think there's already 2 of those 17 have decided they're not coming back.
Really?
Yeah. The Infant Mystics, for example, their plan has always been to have their ball, or whatever they're going to wind up calling it, at Cotton Hall.
Yeah.
Which is their campus.
Right.
I call it a campus because it's such a big piece of land with so many different buildings.
Huge, yeah.
But that's where they keep their floats. It's where they have their den. It's their campus. And their parade is now going to begin and end there. And that's where they're going to have their ball. I don't think they're going to go back to the new facility. I think they're going to stay at Cotton Hall. I mean, they haven't stated that for sure, but I think that's going to happen. And I talked to Ron Barrett. One of the balls that they don't parade. It's a ball only organization, but they were still at the Civic Center. They had their ball just the other night at the grounds, and Ron reported to me that they said, we should have done this years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. We like it here. And so I doubt that they will be back. So we may find it's very interesting. When the Civic Center opened as the municipal auditorium in 1964, with the first Mardi Gras in 65, they had 33 balls.
Oh, wow.
33 Mardi Gras balls at the Civic Center. This past year, as I said, they had 17.
Yeah.
Where at the same time, the number of organizations has more than doubled during that time. So
it's not as many people going there as
right.
It's not
because they're more alternative locations.
Yeah.
And while we have a lot of different organizations, not all of them are that big. And so they at first everybody went to the auditorium because everybody had been at Fort Whiting. Before that, everybody had been at the downtown hotels.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of followed everybody. But one by one, little by little, some of them started moving out of the Civic Center and back to Fort Whiting or over to La because it was smaller, it accommodated them better, the price was better for them, that kind of thing. So I don't know what it's going to look like when they finally open. And
what are we thinking?
There's many different guesses about how long it's going to take to open that new
three Mardi Gras, maybe with.
I've had people tell me that they're planning for 4.
Okay, so the diaspora will last that long, right?
Yeah.
This Mardi Gras, is there anything that the casual observer should look for that's going to be a little different because of that, or anything else?
Honestly, the police department has gone to great lengths to make as few changes as possible. And I think that was wise. I mean, Mardi Gras is all about logistics.
Yeah.
When it comes to the parades and the balls, it's all about logistics. And so the fewer changes you have, the less opportunity for something to mess up real bad. So when they found out, for example, everybody assumed that demolishing the Civic Center was going to move, you were going to be forced to move where you started the parades.
Right.
Turned out that wasn't the case. Police department was told, nope, the streets will be fine. You can start the parades there. So they said, well, by gosh, that's what we're going to do.
Right. Makes it easier.
Right. Now you had some organizations. Well, you say makes it easier. Makes it easier for the police department. Makes it easier for us.
Yeah.
But now you've got groups that were used to piling out of the Civic Center after being there for hours and hours and hours, doing gosh knows what, who are now way over at the convention center. And they've got to get from the convention center to the floats that are over here where the Civic Center used to be.
Yeah.
And so they've been working on those difficulties.
It's a little bit of a stagger.
They're going to walk over.
Yeah.
But they're not supposed to throw anything. And then when the parade ends, the floats are going to turn left on Church and then go north on Royal and stop at Royal and Government and dislodge their riders there so that they have just a block to walk or stumble to the convention center.
Okay.
Again, they are supposed to sit down. I don't know how you sit down on a float, but they're supposed to sit down and not throw between when they start on Church up to when they get dumped out.
Okay.
So the barricades will be pulled back.
Good luck on that one, right?
You're right. No, these will be the things that we will see whether or not this works out. And I told you the IMs are going to end their parade at Cotton Hall. Well, they didn't change the actual route. What they did was when the IMs were supposed to come down toward the Civic Center, everybody in their parade that's not a float or a marshal is going to continue to go down to the Civic Center. The floats and the marshals will continue on to Cotton Hall, but they are not to throw anything.
Not to throw.
And
don't even wave at them.
Right.
Don't even look at them.
Right.
Yeah.
The barricades will be pulled back and all that stuff, and you're just not. This is not a parade. This is not a parade. I was told over and over again, it's not a parade. I'm like, yeah, good luck.
No parade.
Good luck. Everything in this town is a parade. What are you talking about?
That'll be.
Can I tell you a quick thing? Early on, when I was here, we went down and enjoyed the New Year's thing that they used to do. What was that called? Do you remember?
Before the moon pie drop.
Before the moon pie drop, yeah. And they would do fireworks.
Do vaguely remember it.
Yeah, they would do fireworks down at the river. And so we went down there. Cold. Oh my gosh, it was cold. We're going down there. We're down at Cooper Riverside, and we're waiting for the fireworks to start. And this little police boat comes by. And he's got a couple other little boats behind him. And they go by. And we're talking, and then they come back. And okay, all right, and we notice them. Then they come back again. And by this third time, guy down from me leans over and goes, "Throw me something!"
Yeah, right. It's a standard.
If it remotely resembles a parade, you better be ready to throw something.
Yeah, I mean, you go, everywhere we go, if you go to another town and they have a parade and you just stand there like, when are they going to throw something? They're not throwing anything,
right?
It's that we were up in New York. We didn't go to the Macy's parade because it was pouring rain, but I was just like, I don't really care. They're not going to throw anything anyway. But, so, the magazine has been here now been out for 11 years, right?
This is the 13th
issue. Sorry, miscounting. And, I don't think it's a secret at this point. We've put it out there, but it's, that you sold the magazine to Lagnia-Pod, and, you are planning to ride off into the sunset after this Mardi Gras, right? Are you going to be able to handle that?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. And as you know, I absolutely volunteered to be a consultant,
right? Yes.
For the next year to help y'all get it off the ground. But then I'm going to step away. I mean, y'all don't need me hanging over your shoulder going, "Oh, that's not how you do it." Well, but I'm here to help.
Sure,
I'm absolutely here to help.
You got plenty of great ideas.
Yeah, I mean, I did this, and it's funny because I've had a few people, who have said, "Oh, well, it's just not going to be as good."
Well, it may be
that kind of thing.
May be the way.
I actually expected to have an answer for that a lot.
Yeah,
most people have said, "Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah,
I think this is great."
Yeah. Well,
and I think that's because they have such faith in Lagnia-Pod. They know it's in good hands. And for those who have questioned, I have said, look, I have taken this thing as far as I can take it. Lagnia-Pod has a staff. They have multiple staffs. I have me.
Well,
and I have taken this thing as far as it can go.
You've done a lot with that.
They can take it so much farther. So that's what you have to buckle up and watch, because Mobo Mask is going to get even bigger, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. We're excited about it. It's a beautiful publication, and you've done an amazing job building it. And having done the same, having walked down the same path, I know it's a tough thing to do, and a lot of people don't understand that. I mean, most people, why would they understand it? It's but it just sort of appears, but it doesn't just sort of appear, and it's a lot of that is force of personality, and you've been out there doing this and made it happen.
It's my baby,
something to be proud of.
It's my baby, and I have taught it the best I know how.
Yeah,
I have raised it the best I know how, but it's now time to send it off to college and let it spread its wings and do its thing without me.
So where will you and Mrs. Mask be? Where at some juncture when you're done with all this, where's it going to be?
Well, honestly, we have a little plot of land in North Carolina.
Yeah.
The Barrier Island in North Carolina.
That sounds awesome.
We've had this piece of property for 12 years, and it's now my job to find an architect and somebody who might build it for me.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
But I suspect that we will see you during a certain certain time of the year.
Absolutely. No, you can't get rid of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I told somebody who lives on Dauphin Island the other day, I said, hey, you live on a barrier island. I'm going to live on a barrier island. We'll just trade back and forth and, that kind of thing.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
In fact, we're going to be a stone's throw. You ever heard of the Lost Colony?
I have. Yes.
We will be a stone's throw from where the Lost Colony was.
Okay.
Or at least where they think the Lost Colony was.
Well, it's a beautiful area. I mean, it's a gorgeous area.
The Outer Banks of North Carolina, it's as close to, my wife and I both grew up in Virginia.
Yeah.
And so our families both went down to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It's just where you went. It's like if you grew up in Alabama, you went to Dauphin Island.
Right.
Or you went to Orange Beach or Gulf Shores. And if you grew up in Virginia, you didn't go to Virginia Beach.
It's the first real beaches. Yeah. I lived in DC for a little bit. I know.
And that area is like home to us.
Yeah,
It's closer to me. It's closer to feeling like home than the place where I was born and raised.
Yeah.
Because where I was born and raised, I don't recognize it anymore.
Yeah.
This place, the Outer Banks, really kind of still look the same.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, it'll be and maybe you can even start a little Mardi Gras up there.
Oh, there are plans. There are plans in the works. We have chosen the name of our house. It's going to be Bienville.
Very nice.
So we're already bringing a piece of the Gulf Coast up there with us.
Well, they don't know what they're getting into, but they'll be glad they have you,
because it's all about English settlement there.
Yeah, right.
We're bringing the French. We are absolutely bringing the French with us.
Good. That's good stuff. Well, is there anything that any last parting words you want to say? I know you still got Mardi Gras this year, and people will still see you out there on the routes, and you'll be running the website and doing all that. So, but is there anything you wanted to say before you go?
Definitely, absolutely. Look for us out there. Don't be afraid to say hi. I mean, I get so many messages from people who say, "Oh, I wanted to say something to you," and don't be afraid. Just come on up and say something. But I guess if I was going to leave any parting wisdom, it would be, look, this thing, Mardi Gras, is not carved in stone. It's fragile.
Yeah.
And my advice is don't F with it.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Because if you start pulling at some of those strings, the whole thing might unravel, because it really is. It's this big Jenga that's being held up by gosh knows what. People's goodwill, I think.
Yeah.
And I said this to somebody in City Hall when they were trying to F with Mardi Gras, and I said, don't F with Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
You will be sorry. So, yeah, it's a beautiful, wonderful unicorn that you should just love it and caress it and feed it and enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah. Good words. Solid advice. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you coming in.
Sure thing.
Sorry for my cruddy voice, but, go Mardi Gras.
I enjoy it.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day.
The Lagnia-Pod is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Some Pulse Sounds and Electro Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.lagniapmobile.com. For advertising opportunities, please call 251-450-4466.